Good morning. Poem for the day is Birches by Robert Frost. You see, I put a picture of birches here. This is very well known, and you can see the branches are pretty soft. So, when they are low, you have country children swinging on those birches, and that is what this poem is about. You have a taste of American poetry when you read Robert Frost. This is a poem by Robert Frost, who's an American. It features in his collection Mountain Interval. It was published in 1916. It contains 59 lines and it is most quoted and most found in volumes of world literature also, and it deals with the rural landscape, the wildlife, and Frost is known as a nature poet. You see, you have many poems by Frost. Many of his lines are quoted. In one poem, you have the line, "Good fences make good neighbors." In another poem, you have the line, the poem is "Stopping by the woods on a snowy evening," which ends with the lines, that the poet, "The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." These lines are very famous in India also because of the context. They are supposed to have been found um, as the last lines written by Nehru just before his death. And there are many other lines. Even this poem has lines which are quoted often. There's another poem, "The Road Not Taken," which also describes the modern dilemma of what to do and what not to do. You have this poem, Birches. On the superficial level, it just describes the beauty of nature, the beauty of birches, and the charm of swinging on these birches. I'll read the poem now. When I see birches bent to left and right across the lines of straighter, darker trees, I like to think some boy's been swinging them. But swinging doesn't bend them down to stay as ice storms do. Often you must have seen them loaded with ice a sunny winter morning after a rain. You see, the poet has used blank verse, so not I'm not compelled to stop at the end of a line. When I see birches bent left and right across the lines of straighter, darker trees, I like to think some boy's been swinging them. He says when he sees the birches, he always feels that some boy has been swinging them. Then he goes on to say that swinging does not bend them down to stay, but ice storms do. If there is an ice storm, then what will happen? Oft you must have seen them loaded with ice a sunny winter morning after a rain. When there is an ice storm, they do bend. Okay? Swinging, if a boy has been swinging, it will bend, but it will not bend permanently. When there's an ice storm, it they will be in that position the following winter morning. They click upon themselves as the breeze rises and turn many-colored as the stir cracks and crazes their enamel. They crack upon themselves as the breeze rises. When there is breeze, there is some movement, and there you can see many colored uh, pieces of snow as the stir cracks and crazes their enamel. Soon the sun's warmth makes them shed crystal shells. Look at the imagery, look at the beauty of nature described by the poet. He says, as there is some warmth from the sun, they begin to shed crystal shells. There is snowfall, and these pieces of snow are crystal colored. They shed colored, they shed colors, they are like crystal. Shattering and avalanching on the snow crust, such heaps of broken glass to sweep away, you'd think the inner dome of heaven has fallen. They come down, they make a noise, that is why they're shattering, avalanching, they come downwards on the snowy crust, and there are these heaps of broken glass which sweep away, and you think the inner dome of heaven has fallen. You feel, you in imagination, heaven is a beautiful place and it's a decorated place. The inner dome is so beautiful, it's multicolored. So, that is the image used by the poet. He says that the heaps of broken glass, when swept away by the wind, make you feel that the inner dome of heaven has fallen. I always give the example of your refrigerator when you want to describe uh, the snow, which is not a very recurring thing here for you in Rajasthan. So you can just open the fridge, and while you are in the act of defrosting, you see uh, crusts of ice coming down, and when they accumulate, you can also imagine as you want to or as is stated in this poem. They are dragged to the withered bracken by the load, and they seem not to break, though once they are bowed so low for long, they never right themselves. You see, when they are dragged by the wind to some point, the withered bracken, to a disturbed place, and by the load, they seem not to break. They don't break. They just are bored. They just come down so low for long, they never right themselves and they seem never to get up. They don't want to get up. You may see their trunks arcing in the woods. You can see the trunks which start arcing, which become slanting. Years afterwards, trailing their leaves on the ground like girls on hands and knees that throw their hair before them over their heads to dry in the sun. And years afterwards, they trail on the ground, and a beautiful imagery has been used by Frost. He says that it seems by the breeze, it seems that the girls who are sitting on their hands and knees, they throw their hair and towards the sun to dry. But I was going to say, when truth broke in with all her matter of fact upon about the ice storm, I should prefer to have some boy bend them as he went out and in to fetch the cows. So I was just going to say that when truth broke in, when some kind of truth came into his mind and started answering. See, the poet is again jolted between imagination and reality. He was imagining all the while. There was beautiful imagery all around, the dome of heaven and the girls on heads and knees trying to throw their hair before the sun. When truth comes in and tries to describe what ice storm is, the matter of fact about ice storms. I should prefer to have some boy bend them. He says that he feels that it's better that that a cowboy comes in there and tries to bend these branches. Some boy too far from the town to learn baseball, whose only play was what he found himself, summer or winter, and could play alone. So he says he should be a boy from the countryside, not from the town, who knows to play the baseball. He feels that a country boy would come there either summer or winter and he spends most of his time playing alone. One by one, he subdued his father's trees, and by riding them down over and over again until he took the stiffness out of them, and not one but hung limp, not one was left for him to conquer. Here is a country boy who has this capacity to swing on these birches. He tried to subdue his father's trees. His father has these birches. His father has these trees in his farm, and this boy rides over them again and again. And he is so efficient in his task that he has almost taken out the stiffness out of all these birches. Not one but hung limp, not one was left for him to conquer. He seemed to have conquered all these birches. He learnt all there was to learn about not launching out too soon and so not carrying the tree away clear to the ground. See, this country boy was very efficient. He knew that it was not all about the art of swinging these birches, was not about launching too soon. He had to keep his cool, he had to choose the right tree, he had to keep poise. He always kept his poise to the top branches, climbing carefully with the same pains you use to fill a cup up to the brim and even above the brim. He has to keep that poise. He has to be very cool. He has to be very careful. He has to choose the right branch. He has to climb carefully and he has to climb as carefully as the pains you take while filling a cup to the brim and sometimes even up the brim. If it's uh, coffee, if it's coffee which you want up the brim of the cup, then you have to fill very carefully. So that is what he does when he climbs the top of the branches. Then he flung outward, feet first, with a swish, kicking his way down through the air to the ground. Then, when you use the swing, you know very well, you have to kick first, your feet has to be forward, and you have to make a forward movement with the swish of the foot. This is the act of swinging on the birches. So was I once myself a swinger of birches. Poet says that he also did the same. Just like the country boy who was a good swinger of birches, he also was a swinger of birches. He took the right, he selected the right tree, he climbed the branches carefully, chose the right ones, and then he tried to swing. And so I dream of going back to be. The poet wants to be the swinger of birches again. It's when I am weary of considerations and life is too much like a pathless wood where your face burns and tickles with the cobwebs broken across it and one eye is weeping from a twigs having lashed across it open. See the beauty of these lines. Why does the poet want to become the swinger of the birches? Why? Because now he is weary of considerations. He is tired of considerations. There are too many things that he needs to do. Life has become more like a pathless wood. If there is a jungle and there is no path, then what will happen? In all probability, you will get lost. So life has become too much like a pathless wood, where your face burns and tickles with the cobwebs broken across it, and one eye is weeping from a twig's having lashed across it open, where you have cobwebs all around. In the forest, which is not cared for, which doesn't have any path, you will face cobwebs, and while crossing it, your eye can be hurt from a twig that will lash it open, that will come across it. So he feels his life has become more like a pathless wood. These lines remind you of Shelley's Ode to West Wind, where he also describes his life as has happened. He was free, but it is, uh, but he is in chains. Why? Because he also feels that his life has become such. He was swift like the west wind, but now he is in shackles. The same sentiment here is described by Frost. I like to get away from earth a while and then come back to it and begin over. May no fate wistfully misunderstand me and half grant what I wish and snatch me away not to return. The poet is jolted back to reality. After this note of pessimism, he again comes back to his real self. He says, it's okay. But while swinging birches, he feels that he can get away from this earth for a while. This earth, why does he want to get away from the earth? Because he is weary of considerations. He's tired of considerations. But he doesn't want to remain in that stage perpetually. He wants to come back to earth and begin all over again. May no fate willfully misunderstand me. He doesn't want his fate to misunderstand him and send him to heaven for all his life and send him up there. He wants to come back to this earth. He doesn't want fate to half grant what his wish and snatch me away not to return. That means he wants to return. He wants to come back to this earth. Earth's the right place for love. Earth is the right place for love. Earth, it is on earth that you can express these feelings. The gods, it has been often said that God's in his heaven, all's right with the earth, and uh, you always have gods watching us. So they don't seem to have hearts. This has been expressed by several poets. So the poet here expresses his feelings, saying that earth is the right place for love. I don't know where it's likely to go better. It cannot be better if he goes to heaven for forever. I'd like to go by climbing a birch tree and climb back branches up the snow white trunk toward heaven till the tree could bear no more, but dipped its top and sent me down again. You see, this is the act of swinging. He wants to climb a birch tree. He wants to climb the black branches up to the snow white trunk. He wants to go up towards, take the flight up towards heaven, and till the tree cannot bear his weight and it drops him, it dips him down and sets him down again. That is the act of swinging back, the act of coming back. That would be good both going and coming back. So here the poet wants to make an escape from reality, but he wants to go up just to come back again. He wants to come back. One could do worse than be a swinger of birches. So he doesn't want to remain there forever. He says, he who could do one could do worse than be a swinger of birches. He wants to be a swinger of birches just to go up and come back again to this earth. So the sentiments expressed here in this poem are beautiful, and the poet is full of optimism. He expresses his feeling that he is wary of considerations on this earth. He wants to make this act of going up to heaven, but that's not the right place for heaven. Heaven is not the right place for him, so he wants to come back again. This is an extended metaphor. The birch tree represents creative life. There is flexibility, there is fragile. So it tells you to strike a balance whatever conditions in life come before you. There should be a balance. See, the fragile support that the birches give, they take you up, but they come back again. Coming back to reality is imperative. You have to come back to reality. You can enjoy dreams, you can escape for a while, but you have to be firmly rooted in this ground. Real life can be hard, so you can escape into idealism. You can go above reality, you can transcend the mundane, you can swing a little. There can be passages of flight and return, but then you have to come back. So, earth is the best place to love. Frost chose the former, being a pragmatist, clinging to the finite, occasionally swinging, but not too close to heaven. Why? Because he strongly believed that earth is the right place for him. Thank you. Go ahead, read the poem, read the paraphrase. You have You can have a one-line summary, you can have a brief answer on birches, but when you make a detailed study of the poem, you have to go to these lines very carefully, which say that he wants to make this flight just because he is wary of considerations and he feels that life is like a pathless wood where the face burns and tickles with cobwebs broken across it, and his eye weeps from the twigs having lashed across it open. So when you have these lines, it tells you why Frost wrote this poem. He feels that he wants to go up, he wants to dream, he wants to become an idealist, but that is not an answer to humanity, to modernism. You have to jolt yourself back to reality. You have to live with the present. You have to accept things as they are and relish things as they are. That is the message, that is the wonderful message. Each of Frost's poems have this kind, these kinds of messages. So try to read some other poem of Frost on your own, and we can take up some other exemplar poem by Frost, even though it's not prescribed for your course. Thank you and have a nice day.